Always helps if you unmute yourself when you start a webinar. Welcome everybody to part 2 of Bringing Bold to You, a special series as part of It Takes a Viking, the official podcast of the Salem State University Alumni Association and Foundation. My name is Mike Mitchell, Director of Engagement in the Office of Advancement here at the university. Today's Bringing Bold to You webinar focuses on 2 of our academic programs down at South Campus. They're going to be coming to North Campus. We are thrilled, we are excited, we are so happy to welcome from the Department of Healthcare Studies the new chair, Drs. Patrice, DeLeon, Professor Amy Everitt, and from the Salem State University School of Nursing, the chair, Dr. Marion Frost. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't imagine towards the end of August, beginning of September, you all have really anything else going on. But needless to say, we are certainly appreciative of your support and time with us today. So we have some questions. We're going to have a great conversation. If you're watching along with us on Facebook or on YouTube, certainly encourage you to drop a comment in there and we will bring it up as we can for our 3 esteemed panelists with us today. But I think if it's all right with our presenters, I'd first like to start with my colleagues from Healthcare Studies on the heels of their 10th anniversary celebration. For those that may not know, Dr. Everitt, Dr. DeLeon, what is Healthcare Studies? How did it start? What does it do?
Patrice, you want to take it or you want me to go?
You want to take it and then I can pick up wherever you need me to?
Sure. So as Mike indicated, we just completed our 10th year as a major. We are housed in the College of Health and Human Services, and we are kind of a catch-all healthcare program that is focused on all of the non-clinical parts of healthcare. And what we've discovered over the last 10 years is that our students tend to head off in kind of 4 different focus areas. Obviously, some of our students head off to clinical kinds of graduate programs, or they'll head over to the accelerated nursing program, occupational therapy, physical therapy, those kinds of things in graduate programs, or they'll head over to the business side of healthcare, possibly the social services side of healthcare, MSW, nonprofit healthcare organizations, those kinds of things. Or we've had many students head off and get their master's in public health, and so they're focusing in the public health areas. So we cover a wide range of all of the different aspects of healthcare, and it's been very exciting to put the program together. And I'll pass it off to Patrice.
I think there was one key thing that that Dr. Everitt didn't share, was that she was one of the founders of her program. I think that's something that's incredible and very important to share. So thank you, Amy, for founding our illustrious program. And yes, I can say illustrious. I think one of the cool things about healthcare studies, as Dr. Everitt was saying, that we are kind of a catch-all for different aspects of healthcare. But I think one of the really cool things is that even though it might sound a little chaotic, it isn't really. On some days or most days, it's not that chaotic. But we really get to connect students with different organizations within the community, communications of, or organizations, of their interest, whether it is mental health, whether it is public health, whether it is human resources, whether it is, helping students get the prerequisite courses that they need to go on to a clinical program. So I think it's really cool that our program is able to really do that we have that flexibility, that we can do those things with our students. We also have a really cool career professionalism component that's a part of our program, where students take 3 sequence of courses where they ultimately get an internship during their senior year. And some of those internships have led to led to full-time employment. So that's also a really cool highlight to share about our program as well.
And you've also recently focused on, and I guess let me take a step back. It's a two-part question because, Amy, you were in SMS for many years, and so, or formerly Sport, Fitness, and Leisure Studies, which I'm a proud graduate of. But where was it along the way that you said, I think there's a need for this new program? What led you to kind of the foundation of this?
So I think initially it really was a focus on, we had all these students who thought they wanted to get into nursing, and they maybe didn't have the credentials to do it. They weren't as successful in the biologies as they needed to be. And the idea was that we needed somewhere for these students to land because they're still interested in working in healthcare. And so I think that was how it kind of started. We were one of the first schools out of the gate to create a program like this. Now you'll see them in all different places, but we truly are an interdisciplinary program, which makes it very different than a lot of the other schools. A lot of schools, it'll be like a pre-physical therapy kind of program where you get a lot of science prereqs. Some of our students just take the basic general education requirements for science, and they don't ever take an anatomy course, which is really kind of cool for us. Our students are required to pick a minor out of the 80 minors that we have, and that helps to really kind of hone in on some of the skills to supplement what they're learning about healthcare. And they also have to take 5 courses in related areas that are of interest to them. And we have over 20 different academic departments that offer courses that are electives for our majors. So that really makes it very exciting for students because they can kind of tailor their program to what they want to do and what they want to focus on. And so the program has grown. When we initially started the program, believe it or not, we didn't have an internship. And one of the first things we did when we got there, the very first semester, we plugged in the whole pre-professional coursework and the internship requirement, and we've been going gangbusters ever since. So that's a little bit of the history behind it.
And it dovetails nicely because, as you kind of mentioned at the top of that comment about it, it's a program that's appealing for folks who might be interested in a career in nursing but don't quite meet the academic requirements for the program. It transitions nicely to Dr. Marion Frost, who is our current chair of the School of Nursing here at Salem State, a double graduate of Salem State herself. Marion, you graduated, went out into industry, spent some time there. You are now back as an administrator, a department leader. I think for those of us that know BOLD well in terms of its essence, nursing is probably one of the departments, if not the department, that's most drastically affected by what's happening now. Obviously, through some support and philanthropy over the years, the nursing department has seen the Lynch Labs go up in South Campus, but it's such an extraordinarily popular program in the region. Can you talk a little bit about what the project means to your department, how it's going to help the nursing department grow and continue to thrive, and as with all of the programs under the Project BOLD umbrella, help serve the region in a better way?
Okay, first I wanted to show I have my little Project BOLD hat. Remember, Mike, I took about 50 of these, so all the faculty and staff would have one. And another thing I want to mention is sometimes students in our nursing program realize nursing's not for them. So it's not necessarily always that they do not make it through the program. It's just that they're like, I don't want to do this. So healthcare studies has been a wonderful collaboration between our two departments because we can keep them, first of all, at Salem State, but then we can keep them in healthcare in general because nursing is it's a big part of healthcare, but let's face it, it doesn't just run with nurses. So we love our collaboration with healthcare studies. So I think just to discuss how we're going to help the workforce, we're excited about Project BOLD because of the way it's going to kind of change the learning environment for our students. It is a challenge at times to get clinical placements. And, we are required to do a certain number of hours for our clinical placements, but simulation is also, you can have up to 50% simulation for your clinical experiences. So, there's a lot of competition with other schools of nursing. So we do really well. We have, our students get what they need for the clinical placements, but now we're looking at these state-of-the-art simulation labs and skills labs as other ways that we can certainly prepare the student for those placements. Like, they'll have a safe space to practice their skills. They can safely learn from their mistakes by using these simulators. And we can develop scenarios that simulate the healthcare environment, and so they can practice their skills in that controlled environment. We'll have the simple to complex scenarios that the students can work on depending on where they are in the program. Our curriculum scaffolds from obviously simple to complex as we develop their critical thinking. So we're excited about being able to utilize all of our new skills and simulation labs, because at the end of all of the scenarios, the biggest part of a scenario is the debriefing. So we're going to have debriefing rooms. We don't have debriefing rooms right now in our simulation labs. So the students can then talk it through, like, what would you have done differently? And it can be a team learning type of a situation. I don't know if I answered that.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I think and we talked the other day with Luigi Marconi about kind of the different phases of the project and how some of it is new construction, some of it is renovation. But for all intents and purposes, I don't know if in its foundational years, healthcare studies was always at South Campus, but as far as I can remember, nursing has been at South for a long time. And I have to imagine that even just as a recruitment tool, if nothing else, being in this new and renovated but also historic space will likely impact prospective students coming through on a campus tour, where you're not down on the... Amy, it feels like you've always been on an island somewhere, whether down at South or at O'Keefe, but what, in the new space that's coming, either from a healthcare studies perspective or a nursing perspective, what does this new space mean for your programs? And in addition to what you've just offered, Marion, about debriefing rooms and things like that, what is it going to mean to your department and your colleagues to have this new and first to occupy space available to you now?
I know it's exciting because, as you mentioned, I am a double Viking. And so I have been down at South Campus my entire time at Salem State. And I love it. And I'm actually going to be sad when we close the doors to the building. But we also are very excited. And it's been part of probably in the last 3 years since Project Bold kind of been announced that it was starting, I think, within the last 3 years. So every open house, every accepted students day, it's been part of the presentations that you will be in our new labs for the last year that you're here. You'll be in our new labs for the last few years. I think with the competition from other schools of nursing who do have state-of-the-art labs, it will probably help the family's decisions as to where they're going to go. I do want to mention, we hold our own in our current labs. Our current labs actually are very well done and very well designed. But with Project Bold, we are now elevating everything to next level. Like we call them simulators. We don't call them mannequins, but they're the patients basically. And we have quite a few. We have several very high fidelity mannequins that can help us go through simulations. But we are now working with project managers, design teams, et cetera. And we're at the table sitting down saying, what mannequins do we what simulator do we need in order to meet the objectives of our program? We certainly have end of program objectives of what that student is supposed to look like at the end of the program. And then we have course objectives that they need to meet. And so the new simulators will be able to elevate next level. And I think what that's going to do is, we have seen growth in the last 2 years in our nursing program as we've been redesigning many things. As I think we've had the most freshmen this year, actually. I think we have a high number of freshmen, the highest we've had in probably 7 or 8 years, maybe. And so I think that the Commonwealth is hearing about the good things that are happening in our nursing program. But I do think having Project Bold and everything that we're going to be able to offer is going to assist with the nursing faculty shortage, because now you're going to have more students that are going to want to go to nursing school. Did I say nursing faculty shortage or students? Nurses. What did I just say?
I think faculty.
Okay. Well, there's nursing shortage, but there's also a nursing faculty shortage. So will we be more marketable to nursing faculty? We have, I mean, in my opinion, the best nursing faculty around, and we are hiring every year. But if we're going to accommodate more students, we're going to need more faculty. So I think this is going to help the workforce all around by bringing desirable faculty with all sorts of experiences that can change how we're doing things. We're very open to all ideas in the School of Nursing. I've been here 18 to 20 years. And so it's nice to hear what other people are doing from other institutions. So I think we'll be able to contribute to many workforces with the completion of Project BOLD.
Oh, you're muted, Amy. There you go.
There you go. For healthcare studies, our specialty areas are our classrooms. We don't need the lab spaces. So for me, I'm very excited about the technology upgrades. So we have made a significant commitment to our students that we will offer what we call high flex sections in most of our courses, which means that there are some students in person, and then there are others who are coming in through Zoom. And when you're working from a cart, that can be tricky, but we've kind of hung in there, and we are making a commitment to maintain that. And with the new spaces and the design for team-based learning, we're anticipating that we're actually going to increase our access to students who can't come to campus. We have an awful lot of students who are working full-time in the field already. They're trying to come back, get their bachelor's degree so they can elevate themselves in their organization, and they just can't get to campus for that one course on Tuesday at 10:50. So having that upgrade in technology, I think, is really going to make a difference for us in terms of access, the high flex access in particular. And then from just a practical standpoint, I've done schedules now for 9 years for the department, and you have to account for travel time. Our students can't get to North Campus or Central Campus within 10 minutes to take a class right behind or right in front of a course they might have in the Harrington building. And so it's really going to be important for them to be able to back courses in their general education requirements, in their major electives, and just free electives, things that they want to take. It's going to open the door and give them better access to the offerings outside of the department. And I'm really excited about that part. So that's going to be a big difference for us. So Patrice, I don't know if you have anything else you want to share about
I was just going to speak to opportunities outside of the department. I know for quite a few of our classes, we do a lot of collaboration with our research librarian, Dawn Stahura, and so it'll provide easier access to be able to do more with that collaboration that we already have in place. I think that it'll also allow us to have our students connect with the Office of Civic Engagement, and perhaps provide more opportunities for internships. And also, because we do collaborate, we've had some interns working with counseling and health. And so having them closer as well, I just think will be very beneficial as far as, speaking from a lens of more opportunities outside of our department, but also from a community, like bringing us closer together and giving our students more access to those folks as well.
Yeah, and it allows us, so we have a second major, our combined program in healthcare studies and Spanish. will be right across the driveway from the building where the world languages department is. So that'll be nice to be able to connect with them a little bit better and work more closely. And hopefully we can feed some more students into that area as well, because the healthcare industry is in desperate need of that superpower called being bilingual. So I'm hoping that that's going to give us a bump there as well.
You've all kind of touched on this, community building and collaboration piece, and not purely just from, one gets into one program and says this wasn't what I thought it was going to be and tries the other. But I remember distinctly, I think one of the first pre-professional days I had attended, there's the poster presentation as part of it, and one of the students that I had stopped at their table, her research was specifically on fatigue and burnout amongst people who provide care either in a home-based or a clinical-based setting. And so there's not only some interpersonal opportunities there, but there's also some very direct professional correlations that I think will continue to grow and increase as well. So from that same lens, and candidly, there was some intentionality in putting the healthcare studies and nursing department together on the same day for this webinar. But outside of construction, renovation, things like the brick and mortar pieces of the program, and what are you most excited about with this project, about coming off of South Campus and kind of back to North, as we think about, I can only imagine, I'm not a professor, I can only imagine what it would have been like teaching a course on a computer during COVID. And I know that community building has been a big focus here since, but, trying to teach a nursing class or a healthcare studies class to 25 faces on a screen versus being able to do it in person are two obviously very distinct and different things. But with respect to bringing just everybody from South Campus to North, what are you most excited about? What are you looking forward to?
Want me to jump in first? We're pretty busy. Our classes are mostly in person. So I feel like Monday through Friday, we always have students floating around the building. And plus our faculty and staff are here. But I think the big thing that we're excited about is being part of the community of Salem State. I feel like we're in our own community as the College of Health and Human Services. We do see each other and, like being around each other with criminal justice and OT, et cetera. But I think, like, especially when I became chair a few years ago, it's, I've been working for 3 years to get to know other people on campus. I do think that instead of, setting a meeting on Zoom or something because I want to talk to somebody in admissions, I can walk to admissions and actually go see them. We can have a meeting next to each other. Like we work with the college, the center, CAR Center for the Office of Disabilities. A lot our students go there, and you figure the students are in the library at North Campus, and then, as Amy mentioned, but we still might have an hour of class after that exam or quiz that they took. And we have to think about that when we're building in time. Now the students are going to be able to collaborate better with the services on campus if they're just going to walk out the front door of our building and across the quad or down the stairs to the services that they might need. So I think it's going to just allow us to be part of the bigger community at Salem State. And I will admit, I feel like when you go to Salem State, as many students and people as we have floating around down here, it's a different energy. Like it's a different energy because we are so separated that you do feel like you're part of an actual campus. So I'm very excited about that. I know we all are.
Yeah, I just saw there civic engagements putting on an event in September. And I'm thinking, okay, so this is the time slot. And so our students need 2 time slots to go because they got to get there, right? And so I think for me, access to the resources, that's important, but also access to all the events and being able to participate. We've struggled to get a student club going. because they're not on North Campus or Central Camp. It just makes it easier. And that also includes faculty. It's much easier to be involved and engaged on campus when you're on campus where all the activity is. Um, I don't think I've been at Salem State for 31 years, and I don't think anyone's ever called a meeting um, outside of Health and Human Services at South Campus. So it's going to be refreshing to be able to be that close and not have to get in your car to go to that meeting. So
I was just going to say that we're going to be closer to food options. Because Dr. Frost and Dr. Everitt took the words out of my mouth with community building and better access and things. But I'll just add that we'll also be closer to food options without the fight that we've had to do on South to just have that access for our students.
And that impacts community. Because if a student can't stop and get a sandwich or a cup of coffee or a water or whatever, they have to leave the campus to do that and they don't come back. And so now our students are able to go to a space where other students are and they can get something to eat. And so that basic need really has an impact on community. And I don't think people realize that until you don't have access. What it can do in terms of just keeping people in the building and keeping them talking to each other.
Mm-hmm. Can I actually just add one thing now that I think
Please.
about it?
Yeah.
The design of this building has a student hub on every floor. So, right now we have spaces for them to sit. Like you said, if they get hungry, they don't come back. But, they'll hang around, they'll talk. You find them in empty classrooms. But there's actually designed student hubs per floor that students will, I think we talked about putting whiteboards in there and maybe having a setup with some snacks or whatever. But I think it will build the community with the students, and then faculty can stop into the student hubs and say hi to the students. So I'm looking forward to the student hubs.
And there's another, and it's kind of running in parallel that, on September 9th, we're opening the new Viking Market in what was formerly referred to as the food pantry. So I think the thing that you've all emphasized in the most recent part of our conversation is this emphasis on overall student wellness. And if they're in a class on South and they have to run to Swampscott for a clinical placement or an internship site, and they haven't had a chance to grab lunch, or maybe their dining dollars are out, or whatever the case may be, this new market that's going to be opening on the ground floor of the library is a great place for them to be able to pop in, grab something to eat, grab something to drink. And now it's a short walk down the sidewalk as opposed to having to get in your car and go somewhere else. And Amy, I think you're absolutely right that the things that, sometimes can be taken for granted can have a significant effect on the overall, not only just the wellness of the individual, but that ripple effect, that residual effect on their day, their week, their life, their whatever. If a student's going through the rigors of it all and then stops and says, I can't remember the last time I had something to eat, having that resource available to them so much more closely and so much more readily is going to be extraordinarily helpful as well. And to Patrice's point too, that South has in many ways become a little bit of an island down there, and so hopefully bringing community back together in a holistic way will be great for everyone. I think the last question I'd like to ask is, obviously the nursing school has seen some support in recent years through the establishment of the Clipper scholarships. Healthcare Studies has seen some support from great partners like WellPoint and other community members that are providing support for things like Pre-Professionals Day, but also, I know it's baked into both curriculums that they need to do some kind of external placement, either clinical through nursing, internship sites for healthcare studies. But, Marion, you probably remember Ann DiFilippo. She would always do the preceptor recruitment for current students. So the question I'm getting to all of this with is, how can alumni, friends, community members support your programs in this next stage of its evolution and growth cycle?
Want me to start?
Sure. Yeah. I got nervous for a second there. Nobody was talking.
Yeah, no, I'm done. You know,
I'm thinking.
No, I've thought about this, and I've been chair now for 3 years, going into my 4th year as chair, and we get updates from advancement about, you know, donor or donations, basically. And just because it's been so busy in my 3 years, but I wanted to reach out and individually thank everybody for, you know, I don't know what is donated, but it doesn't need to be at the level of a simulator, you know. Really every little bit towards gifts helps, because we use our gift fund for the students. That's what it's there for. So what I did in the spring was I looked back at everything we've done with the gift fund in the last couple of years, and I sent it to advancement, who then turned it into this unbelievable like newsletter that I never imagined and we had pictures in it. And so it was showing everybody what your gift did for the School of Nursing. You know, we just bought over the summer, we've been doing an inventory of all of our skills labs. What do we need to get us through this next year that we know is probably not part of the budget for the building, because they're looking at the bigger things like the head walls over the beds or the simulators, et cetera. Like, we went through and realized half of our thermometers don't work, you know, so we were able to purchase thermometers. How are we supposed to pretend to take a temperature? You know, we should actually be taking a temperature. We also bought a lot, like 25 double stethoscopes to split between all of our labs. That's how we assess the student. The faculty can listen the same time that the student is listening, and the teaching can occur there. We purchased our mannequins, or our simulators all have certain pads you can take off of them. So they'll have like a little pad at the deltoid, or they might have a little pad on the leg to mimic the sites of injections. And so we made sure that we went through and purchased some pads that will actually work on the new mannequins as well, the new simulators as well. So the student is bending over, given an injection where they would be given it. We do have, I actually have one right here on my desk. Like, we use these types of little things. It's a squishy little thing where they can do injections. And so they can start on these, but then they can actually practice on the simulator. So what I would like to do is almost quarterly send a note to that newsletter to everybody with pictures or videos of, look at what your generous gift has done. We were able to just buy even pulse oximeters. We bought different types of wounds so students can do dressings. We won't put the wounds in the pictures, but I was very excited about those because they're realistic as to what you're going to see and then what dressing is going to go in that. So what I'd like to say is that we were able to purchase some of the smaller items with this gift fund that we can now bring with us to the new building. You know, one last thing I'm excited about is the way they give certain injections now. They have cartridges, and we just have regular needles where you're drawing up from the medication. So we were able to even purchase a lot of these cartridges to simulate what's actually happening in real practice in our labs. So I think that just your continued support, and honestly, even if you want to just send a little letter along that you're, you know, happy with what's going on in the School of Nursing, it doesn't even have to be monetary. Even just knowing that the support is out there from our alumni, which I did see when we went to what did you have there at Central Campus? You had that with all
yeah, Pomp.
Yeah, Pomp, talking to everybody at Pomp. I got to know the class of 76, you know, and they weren't even nurses, you know, but it was nice that they were able to ask questions. So I enjoy just getting to know the alumni, even just to have them hear what's happening in nursing. They don't necessarily even have to donate. So I think just the support also means everything.
I would add, are echoing, of course, support and things. But as far as the donations or the gifts and things that could be provided for our students with scholarships, but also some of their internships, well, the majority of their internships aren't paid. And so our students, if they are, leaving, making adjustments to their work schedules and things like that, that's less money that is coming into their household. We have students that are, supporting entire households. So I think, we used to have a scholarship, with Mass General Brigham, that provided, I believe it was $2,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Everett, but I believe it was $2,000 that we were able to provide, our students during their internships, which helped, whether it was, as far as like, a little bit of a supplemental income, but perhaps, taking care of their bill that they need to pay, as far as financial aid and things like that goes. We also have had, some really cool opportunities for our students to study abroad. And so being able to, provide,
Did we lose Patrice?
working during that time.
Oh,
There we go.
there she is.
But okay, I am. It's like everybody started spinning. I'm like, wait, wait, let me finish. Let me get this out. Our students need scholarships, and funds to do, study abroad trips, so they can, not just, see a different part of, of the world, but also it's cool to see how, healthcare systems or healthcare organizations operate in other places. We just went to Costa Rica, a couple, was it 2 years, I think, ago, for spring break. We took a group of students and we went to a day program for some older adults, in Costa Rica. And I think it might have been the only time that I have been in that type of environment with older adults that they were smiling and having a good time and dancing and interacting with one another and doing crafts and things. When my grandmother was in, an organization like that, I hated going because she was so sad. It was just not, it wasn't, a great environment for her and some of the other folks that were, at an establishment like that. But in Costa Rica, yes, it might have, to do with it being Costa Rica and it's beautiful and it's warm and all these other things, but also just the activities, the interactions and things like that those folks had. I thought that was amazing. And so, for our students to be able to see something like that, so then if they, you know, work at a facility, perhaps they can implement some of the things that they've seen in some of these other places here that could also benefit, folks here. So, so yeah, I would just say, continued support as far as scholarship funds, or maybe even small stipends and things when they are out there doing their internships, or maybe support when they're trying to, do some of these study abroad opportunities.
Yeah, and the other thing is, internship sites are getting harder to identify and get our students placed. It's becoming more competitive. We used to be the only game in town when we first started this, and now there are plenty of other programs where students are looking for similar kinds of experiences. So, um, I think about the fundraising part. We're obviously still developing our alumni base, and we're getting there. After 10 years, we've got a pretty good number, and we want to keep those folks involved with our program. The networking part, when we get a phone call about a position that's open, we want to be able to contact our alumni and say, hey, here's something that might be of interest to you. Or they can call us and say, hey, do you have someone who's finishing that might be a good fit? And so those kinds of connections and networking things are really important, and we're working on trying to develop, keeping some more accurate lists, and figuring out how to make sure we keep in contact with people. um, and then when they go out in the world and they have an internship potential, we have a better shot at placing one of our students there. We've been really fortunate just recently this past year to receive a very generous gift from WellPoint, and that sponsored our pre-professional day where our students present their projects, their posters from their internships, and then 3 of our students got some gift money to cover. It was a $2,000 gift for their summer stipend for their internship. So those kinds of things go a long way. And Mike and Patrice were in the room when the students got to meet the general manager from WellPoint, David Morales, and it was a very, very powerful hour and a half. And our students will benefit from that for their whole careers. And it makes just that little bit makes a big difference. So we appreciate anything that anybody can give us, whether it's time, talent, money, whatever it might be. So.
Well, thank you all so much. As I mentioned at the top of our conversation today, the last couple of weeks in August can't be too much happening for you all these days. So I know this time of year is extraordinarily busy. We are just inside of a year to Project Bold's completion and opening, and I know you all are excited. I'm thrilled, and I can't wait to welcome alumni and friends back to campus to see the new Horace Mann especially. There was always the conversation that, I did my student teaching there, and there's going to be still student teaching there. It's just going to be a different student this time. So it's going to be a wonderful addition to campus to have you all back up from South and really re-ingrained in the fabric of our community. So thank you all so much. Marion's got that foam hard hat ready to go.
Mike, thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Thanks, Mike.
And for those that are watching along, September 2027, bring yourselves back to campus, check out the new space. We are just about a year to go here. I think we're going to have a few months to be able to move all the furniture and stuff like that, but early September 2027, make your way back to Salem State's North Campus, check out the Horace Mann building. And until then, we're going to be doing another webinar early next week featuring our friends from Occupational Therapy and Biology. I hope you'll tune in. But until then, thanks everybody for watching.